Hi friends, welcome back. Today we're going to paint that. I went to Michael's, I got a little wooden panel, and I thought it would be fun to just do a quick little seat of your pants little painting. So sit back, relax, and let's do a little painting together, shall we? Let's go. Painting on wood is one of those that I don't do very often, but whenever I do, I am reminded of just how much I love using wood as the surface that I paint on. There is just something intrinsically fun to me about using acrylic gouache, specifically acrylic gouache, on wood. Because I've done regular gouache on wood, I've done acrylic on wood, and those are fine. But acrylic gouache on wood is so fun. There is something about the way that it behaves that it flows so easily for me. It's just super fun. It is a really interesting surface to work on, and it's interesting in what is probably the best way ever. I don't actually know how to explain it. It soaks up the paint a lot faster than a canvas would, obviously, because it's wood, it's porous. I don't seal the wood before I paint on it. I just paint on it raw. So it really soaks up all of the water and the paint. And if you do traditional gouache, so not the acrylic gouache, you can still kind of lift some of it, and it behaves a little more like a normal watercolor, because it is a normal watercolor, where with the acrylic gouache, once it soaks in, it's set there. And that makes it really interesting and really fun to work with, because you have to work pretty quickly. And for someone like me who really enjoys doing that kind of seat of your pants style painting from time to time, painting on wood is just a really fun way of doing that seat of your pants style artwork, because you have limited time to be able to really work with your paint, because it's going to dry fast. Again, I live in a desert, so even working with something like watercolor, it is going to dry quickly. It is going to dry faster than you think it's going to. So your open time and your time that you have to really fiddle with your wet paint, especially when you're working on a surface like wood, is extremely limited. And that makes it, for me, a lot of fun, and just that little bit of a challenge that makes it a really nice one evening project. So this whole piece, like I mentioned before, I painted this in probably 2.5 hours. And that is one of the things that I love with doing these like wood projects like this, is that I have, again, because it's wood, I have kind of a limited amount of time to be able to play with it. You also, in my experience, you kind of want to get all your paint on it in one sitting, because sometimes if you come back to it and you try adding more water to it, it's wood. So sometimes I've gotten splits on a couple of these just purely because I came back to it later. So I find that it does work better if I just do the whole painting at once, which in this case worked out super well, because I needed a video for this week. And also I had this really fun idea. I had seen this round canvas with this like metal rim around it, I guess. I had seen this at Michael's, and I saw it and I just had one of those instant visions for, I wanted to do a nighttime winter tree with a fox. And so I found a bunch of reference photos, figured out kind of the gist of what I wanted to do. I wanted it to be very snowy, but also potentially starry. And I wanted to try some techniques on the tree that I hadn't done in a while. So this was a fun piece because, again, limited time, very clear idea of what I want to be painting, and a little bit of a challenge in that some of it is stuff that I hadn't done in a while. The other thing that I really like doing with the wood panels like this is I love leaving that raw edge. There is just something, I don't even know exactly how I would explain it. I love, specifically when you're painting on wood, being able to see the wood, being able to see that, like, hey, this is paint on a wood board. There is something really cool to me about the paintings that are this style, where it's almost like there's a tear in the fabric of reality and you're seeing through this piece of wood into this little scene. Something like that, I guess, would be the easiest way to explain. But I just love getting that raw edge of wood on the surface like this. I just think it looks super fun. It adds a little je ne sais quoi for me personally. So every time I get to paint on a wood panel, I always leave the edge raw like this, and I always kind of just feather my paint out toward the edge. I never make it like a really crisp line at the edges. I want it to look like I intentionally left that space blank, because obviously I did. So I'm spending kind of as little time on each section as I possibly can. So I've done the sky, I added some star/snowflakes. You can kind of, I intended for them to be snowflakes when I originally did it, but they do look like stars because, again, it's nighttime. So you can kind of think of it either way. And then did the tree. The tree actually came together a lot faster than I thought it was going to. I thought the tree was going to take me quite a bit longer than that, and then it just kind of flowed, and there it was. Add in some plant details really quick, and then here's where I'm trying out. I've done this technique before of making the branches look icy, but I had gotten a different filbert brush that I thought would be good for this technique, and I wanted to try it, which is essentially where I solidified that I was doing this style of wintry tree. Was, hey, I got this paintbrush, I want to see if it works the way that I want it to work. So it's a tiny little filbert brush, and I love it. It did such a good job. I am probably going to have to go to the store and get an extra one. Essentially, my rule is if I really like how a paintbrush does, then I need to get at least one extra of it, because there is a high probability that I will want to use two of it on the same canvas. Because sometimes I don't always wash my brush right away if I know I'm going to go right back into that color. So it's nice to be able to go back and forth with the same type of brush without having to wash your brush in the middle, if that makes sense. So essentially, I am just patting on this like whitish blue color to make it look like the remaining leaves and twigs and whatever on the tree are covered in ice. And I think it turned out really quite well, especially since I really haven't painted this style in, I honestly don't know how long since I've done something like this. Probably at least a year since I've actually done something in this vein with like the icy branches. It's not something I do very often. I also don't tend to do trees that don't have leaves. I do it occasionally, but it's not a thing that I gravitate toward a ton. Obviously, I really like leaves. I paint leaves a lot. I do love doing winter scenes. It's just one that I don't do as often for whatever reason. So being that it's December, it made sense to just sit down and do a real quick winter scene on this wooden board that I happened upon in a Michael's when I was waiting a half an hour for an appointment. Sometimes when you have half an hour to kill, you go to the craft store and you find some really fun stuff. Yeah, Michael's is great for that. Also Hobby Lobby. Where I live, there aren't really any other art supply stores, so I end up in more craft supply stores. Also, I apologize if you keep hearing Jester in the background. She is currently having a Zoom, and she's having the time of her life. She is running down the hallway. Anyway, so this part actually, again, it came together really quick. I do have this sped up about 3x, I think, for this video, but still, this came together just really quickly. I honestly thought that doing the icy branches was going to take me like 2 to 3 times as long as it did. It was one of those where I did it and I looked at the clock and I went, oh wow, that came together very fast, didn't it? Which, that's fun. I like when the concept is flowing so smoothly that time just kind of becomes a non-issue, and it just flows. It flows really. I love when that happens. And that honestly it kind of felt like that was how this whole painting went. It just flowed out of me, and I sat down to paint, and the next thing I knew, it was finished. I was texting a friend of mine when I was working on it, and I sent him a picture after it was done, and he was honestly like just shocked that I had been able to finish this whole thing in that amount of time, like between messages, basically. That's always fun. I like being able to, obviously I surprise myself sometimes when I come up with a painting like this and I finish it so quickly, but it's also kind of validating to be talking to someone while you're working on a painting like this and then have them be the one that recognizes how quickly you got that done and how honestly great it looks at the end. I am, as per usual, I am really happy with this painting. It has been just really fun to see how my art has progressed over the course of this year. And this painting is no exception to that. This is one of those that, yeah, it's a little painting and it took me just a couple of hours, but it turned out really cool and it flowed out of me in a way that I don't think paintings were flowing last year. This year, I've allowed myself to really take time between doing paintings and to make sure that I have like a solid concept or at least a good idea and a connection to the piece before I really sit down to paint it. And I think that shows in the stuff that I've worked on this year. I think it's pretty obvious, at least to me, when I look at my artwork from this year, that I really grew as an artist and I really honed a bunch of different skills. And I am super duper excited to see where all of this goes in the new year. I have so been enjoying having my YouTube channel as a way to, even just for myself, to kind of have a mini vlog kind of thing of a record of all of the stuff that I have painted, just so that I can see how I've progressed and I have a really easy way to visualize the different way that I paint, the different styles that I paint in, the different concepts that I've come up with over the course of time, because a lot of the stuff that I painted this year is stuff that even last year I would have thought was way too difficult for me and stuff that I was nowhere near ready to do. And yet this year, those same concepts and those same paintings just flowed out of me and they turned into some pieces that I am so proud of. I am so excited to look back on all of the stuff that I painted this year and just almost be in awe of myself and the things that I learned this year and the things that I was able to accomplish this year, because I accomplished a lot. Sure, I didn't get the website up. I didn't get to do an art event yet, but I also really didn't have time for that this year. And what I did have time for was honing my craft and making some gosh darn fun paintings. So thank you guys so much for coming along for the ride this whole year. Thank you for enjoying all of my art. And yeah, it has been a fabulous year. I have had a blast doing all of this. Let me know in the comments what you're hoping to see more of next year, because I do have a bunch of ideas for next year, but I would love to hear all of your thoughts on the next year as well. So I will see you in a couple of weeks with a quick little video for the new year. But again, thank you so much for watching this quick little fox painting. I hope that you enjoy it as much as I do. And yeah, thank you guys again so much for your support. I appreciate every single one of you. You guys are the best. I just love this little community. As small as it is, I love it. I love making these videos for you guys, and I love having you around to watch. So again, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I am so thankful that you're here. I'm thankful that you've stuck around for my entire mini video on this little fox painting, and I so appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Bye. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more chill videos with art.